There's a fierce, unnerving silence hanging over the Bay right now. A maddening quiet that has Dub Nation clutching its chest every single day the Warriors sit idle in this merciless free agency maze. No moves, no signals, just the clock ticking. Ominously louder as the offseason drags on, like a storm waiting to break but refusing to rain. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Here's the thing. Another day yet again slips by with Golden State's front office locked in what feels like a suffocating stalemate. And as the fan base twists in suspense, we're shaking Mike Dunleavy awake, begging him to quit the snooze and crank this ship into gear. Because while the chatter heats up outside Chase Center, the Warriors have still yet to seal the deal on that all-important boost to their backcourt depth. And that name, the one reverberating quietly but persistently in those inner circles, Malcolm Brogdon. This isn't idle speculation. It's rumors metamorphosing into whispers, whispers into something more tangible as multiple NBA insiders cite Golden State's genuine interest in the former. Sixth Man of the Year, a player whose career has been a blend of dazzling efficiency and frustrating injury fragility, who now stands openly unsigned and evaluating his options deep into July, with the Warriors glaringly conspicuous as the only potential suitor yet to commit. What's especially intoxicating about this isn't just Brogdon's sleek shooting stroke or his veteran savvy. It's this paradox of a player holding out, maybe even in wait, while his phone buzzes from calls across the league from Sacramento to New Orleans to Minnesota. But the Warriors, muddled by the oft-embarrassing Jonathan Kuminga saga, are simply frozen as the drama around their enigmatic young forward drags chain after chain across the entire free agency landscape. It's insulting and maddening how one unresolved compulsion is stalling Golden State's once fluid championship machinery, especially given the urgency of shoring up a rotation that last season showed glaring cracks when it came to secondary ball handling and bench playmaking, a shortfall directly mirrored in those grueling playoff moments where spacing and pressure relief were luxuries the Splash Brothers couldn't completely afford. And then there's Brogdon's bittersweet story, a sharpshooter who lit up the Celtics in the 202-223 run with near 5-0-4-0-9-0 splits and a six-man trophy on his mantle, blending lethal efficiency with gritty defense. But ever since, recurring injuries have clipped his wings, limiting him to just 24 games last year with the Wizards, painting a picture that makes teams wary of spending big bucks on a player who may simply not endure a full grind of an NBA season. Yet here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. If the Warriors can swoop in on a veteran minimum deal for Brogdon, healthy and hungry, they could land an absolute steal, a Swiss Army knife off the bench, capable of easing the relentless burden on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, giving Draymond the breathing room to orchestrate without overextending. It fits the ongoing pattern of Golden State targeting bargain warhorses with high potential impact and controlled risk. Al Horford still defying age, Anthony Melton, a gritty glue guy coming off injury, and now Brogdon, a rescuer of depth if he stays upright. But can this fragile symbiosis survive? That's the million-dollar question, because the Warriors, rich in aging stars, who've all weathered their share of bumps and missed games, simply can't afford another rotating door of bench bodies, especially one where the reliability is in question. Still, the lure of a Brogdon signing isn't isolated. There's a broader context. The Warriors' 2025 draft picks, Alex Tui and Will Richard, stepping into the Summer League spotlight for the first time, their rookie struggles laid bare in inefficient shooting splits and uncomfortable adjustment periods, a stark contrast to the immediate impact expected from past Splash-era draftees. But Warriors' coaching staff remain optimistic, banking on defensive toughness, IQ, and relentless effort, qualities historically part of Golden State's DNA, especially from Richard, whose defensive potential could slot him into rotation sooner than Tui, whose growth arc seems steeper, requiring patience and polish. The juxtaposition here is clear. while the front office hesitates to move decisively on free agency targets like Brogdon. These young project players are being groomed to fill the hard-nosed roles that Steph and the veterans need to stay fresh for deep playoff runs. Yet, amid this whirlwind, the shadow of Jonathan Kuminga looms large and dark, the saga dragging on like an albatross around the franchise's neck, interrupting plans, eroding leverage, and stifling momentum. As some fans stand with unwavering belief in Kuminga's promise, others see clearly that the organization is gambling with its legacy by allowing a single contract stall to dictate the entire offseason chessboard. And if that wasn't enough to stoke the fire, consider the cold, brutal numbers underscoring just how much Steph Curry has been carrying this team through its championship windows. Andy Bailey's analysis revealing an 8.5 point per 100 possession differential with Curry on the floor in title runs, a figure so staggering it borders on the miraculous. Yet Curry's being forced to shoulder this weight amid a fractured cast, aging stars needing rest, and an offseason defined by indecision and missed opportunity. Remember, this is the same organization that preached "We Believe" and rode the tidal wave of splash-era dynamism into the NBA's pantheon, only to now teeter on the edge of stagnation, scrambling to balance youth and experience without compromising the man who changed the franchise forever. So, is the Brogdon flirtation the ignition point that finally shatters this all-season malaise? Could adding a savvy, albeit injury-prone, playmaker be the catalyst that transforms Golden State's patchwork bench into a vessel worthy of another title run? Or is the hesitation, the endless weight on Kuminga, the whispering doubts about durability, just the cracks splitting the foundation of a dynasty that refuses to rest? As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, knowing full well the stakes are as high as ever. The potential as electric as the roar of the Chase Center crowd on a Game 7 night. But is this the moment we look back on as the turning point, the pivot from fading glory back to championship contention? Or will history remember this summer as the lost season, the breath held too long, the ship that drifted while its most iconic captain carried on alone? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If the weight of this summer's silence is crushing your soul like it is mine right now, then scream your truth into this chaos, because Dub Nation deserves to know what you're thinking the moment this offseason bleeds into a pivotal season of reckoning. We're staring into the abyss, the Warriors organization stuck in this maddening limbo where every second of hesitation feels like a betrayal to everything we've built. And that Brogdon situation, man, it's a microcosm of the whole mess, an opportunity that teeters between salvation and surrender. Picture this, a franchise that transformed the NBA, rewriting basketball history with unrelenting splash-era brilliance, now muttering in the shadows, paralyzed as a superstar forward who at times shows flashes of transcendent greatness. Jonathan Kuminga is both a blessing and a curse, wielding the power to change the team's trajectory, yet shackled by stalled negotiations that stretch cooler heads too thin. This isn't just a contractual impasse. It's the unseen quake shaking the foundation beneath the Chase Center floorboards. And meanwhile, Steph Curry, the irreplaceable heart of this dynasty, ages like a fine but fragile wine, carrying burdens heavier than any player should ever be asked to bear. Every playoff run since 2015, he's carried this team on his back. From MVP-winning regular seasons to those bone-crushing finals battles, the man whose shooting splits and clutch genes seem almost superhuman. But here's the raw truth: when the supporting cast wobbles, when bench depth resembles Swiss cheese, when the secondary ball handlers can't ignite consistent offense or maintain spacing, even Curry's magic risks dissipating into thin air. You want to talk locker room atmosphere? Whisper it quietly, because tensions inside can't be ignored. Draymond's leadership, once fiery and galvanizing, has appeared strained lately, as if he's wrestling with a roster's identity crisis, a group that looks in the mirror and wonders if they can really be the juggernaut they once dominated the league as. The younger guys, Moody flashed tantalizing glimpses of brilliance, but has been a question mark for consistency. While Wiggins, who promised redemption after a tough stretch, still carries the burden of proving he can pivot from role player to difference maker without the front office hemming him in. And that's the crux of it. While the coaching staff, Kerr and his brain trust, try to maintain the trust the process mantra, the silence from the front office is deafening, muffling any momentum and stoking wildfire doubts among fans and players alike. Imagine the locker room churning every day, questions bubbling. Is Kuminga coming back? Who else are we signing? Are we really ready to push again or just putting on a show to appease fading glory? The very soul of this team rests on fragile threads, with the weight of Curry's greatness the only visible anchor. The irony some of the same voices that cheered for years about handcrafted bench units and shrewd cap maneuvers are now watching, wide-eyed and heartbroken, as the same patience and culture-first ethos that built dynasties mutates into timid indecision. And back to Brogdon. This isn't just about filling a spot on the depth chart. It's a litmus test for this organization's fight-or-flight instincts. Do they take a gamble on a player whose recent health record casts shadow, but whose skill, set in basketball, IQ could be the pressure valve Draymond has begged for? Or does the front office fold under the weight of risk aversion and let this golden window seep further through their fingers? Because make no mistake, every day without that Brogdon spark is another pebble added to the avalanche that risks burying this team's aspirations under the weight of what could have been. And even as rookie hopefuls like Alex Tui and Will Richards sweat through summer league and training camp, their developmental arcs can only stretch so far fast enough to relieve this crushing demand for reliable playmakers. The franchise's history demands urgency here. We saw what happens when the chemistry falters, when the burden overwhelms, the 2019 finals collapse, the 2021 patchwork playoff appearance, the slices of doubt creeping steadily into what was once unshakable confidence. Ask yourself, can the Golden Dynasty pivot with the same relentless hunger that forged it? Or are we destined to watch from the sidelines as a relic of a past era stares at the new guard and wonders if the game is leaving them behind? Because while young potential brims with promise, the reality is that sustainable championship contention hinges on smart moves and decisive action, two things that seem in short supply as the front office dithers. And the weight of legacy presses down unbearably on every decision. Steph's quest to etch his name as the greatest ever hinges on this season. But he's surrounded by a swirling fog of unknowns and questions that threaten to dim the light. At the end of the tunnel, Draymond's fiery soul seems on edge, battling a roster that's stalling as much as it's evolving. Kuminga's saga isn't just contract drama. It's a full-blown storyline threatening the very identity of this team. A gambit that could pay off in spades or implode spectacularly. And if that's not enough to twist your gut, the league around Golden State is moving at warp speed. Teams like the Nuggets, Suns, and Celtics are pouring gasoline on their championship fires while the Warriors hesitate, caught in hesitation that feels deafening. This summer has the tension of a Game 7 clock winding down with no comeback in sight. A silent battlefield where reputations, futures, and the soul of a franchise hang in the balance. As someone who's bled blue and gold through every bruising, heartbreak, and euphoric parade, I feel the electric pulse in my veins, the simmering chaos that could either trigger a renaissance or signal a fracture too deep to mend. The story of this offseason won't be written until the ink dries on that Brogdon deal or the Kuminga resolution, until the first ball drops on opening night and the real test begins. So here's where I throw it to you, the real heartbeat of Dub Nation. What do you see when you look into the storm? Is this the moment the Warriors break free, ignite the engines, and race back into the title conversation? Or are we staring down the twilight of an era, a slow fade where legends carry burdens too heavy and hope becomes question marks? Drop your unfiltered fire right here, no holding back, no sugarcoating. This is the place where bravery meets loyalty, and I'll be right there with you, reading every word with the soul of a fan who refuses to blink before his team's greatest story unfolds.